Happy Thursday. Hopefully, everyone's having an awesome week here. But Vice President Harris has a new job, and we should be concerned and we should celebrate it all at the same time. Now, this story comes from the fine people at the New York Post, so take it with a grain of salt. With their ads to say, see a doctor within 10 minutes, Austin Emergency Center. Big Sister 2. Kamala Harris leads the latest Biden disinformation team. I don't know. I might have to be careful now. Can't have any disinformation now that Big Sis is in charge. Another day at the White House. Disinformation Task Force. Biden administration on Tuesday created a new internal policy task force. This one led by Vice President Kamala Harris, with the goals of including developing programs and policies to protect political figures and journalists from disinformation, abuse, and harassment. Depends on what you consider harassment. Politicians should be harassed often, and when I say harassed often, I mean that they should be held accountable for their actions. And the same thing with news agencies. They should be held accountable for their actions. The actions for the following Department of Homeland Security disastrous April rollout of its Disinformation Governance Board, which was paused out of outrage over the perceived step towards government led internet censorship. Guess what? That outrage is still there. Just because you got rid of that kooky Mary Poppins chick doesn't mean that those concerns don't go away. A president memorandum established a new task force described in a sweeping mission to protect people who seek our role in public life from online critics. Sweeping mission to protect people who seek out a role in public life from online critics? No, 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 no. That's not how this works. You're in a public life, which means when you do stuff out in public, we're going to hold you accountable and we're going to mock you when you screw up, or we'll demand that you'll be impeached if you do something wrong. You don't get any special protection from online critics. That's what the whole First Amendment's all about, and the air quotes freedom of the press is all about. In the United States and around the world, women and who cares? LGBTQI, let's get Biden to quit internally, I guess. I don't know. Political leaders, public figures, activists, journalists are especially targeted by sexualized forms of online harassment and abuse, undermining their ability to exercise their human right and participate in a democracy, governance, and civic life, a memo says. I see. They're going to disguise this in hate speech. Oh, you can't make fun of Beat Buttplug because he's part of the LGBTQ. I mean, how dare you? You're only attacking him because of his marriage to a man, so therefore you must be censored. You must be kicked off. Is that the direction that we're going off? Not because of his comment saying if you can't afford gas, go buy a Tesla comment. I mean, most people don't really care about people's sexuality. It's when you flash it in their face is when they have issues. But let's continue with this story. Online abuse and harassment, which aims to preclude women from political discussion, making it about their own lives and communities, undermine the functionality of democracy. That means we can't make fun of Harris when she speaks in circles. Like, we're going to discover the passage of time, and time is a passage of time. We're going to continue to work with our people, with our friends together across the pond. Together, we will enact policies together. When she speaks like that, we can't attack her because she's a female. Is that what you're trying to say, Mr. Joe Biden, Mr. President Biden? Is that what you're asking? Is that what you're saying? Sometimes it's not the sometimes it's the person's actions that we mock, not necessarily the gender or the role or their sexuality or their appearance. Sometimes it's just a dumb idea is a dumb idea, and we're criticizing the dumb idea. The new task force members include Biden heavy hitters such as Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, Attorney General Merrick Garland, and Secretary of State Antony Blinken. I don't know much about Alejandro, but I do know about Garland. It says people that speak out at teachers or the teachers meetings are domestic terrorists. Parents that have concerns are labeled domestic terrorists when they voice their concerns at the school board meetings. And State Antony Blinken is just an idiot. I don't know what his sexuality is or race. I know he's white, but I just don't know what his sexuality is. But those two people are idiots, along with our Vice President Harris. Let's see here. The panel would hold its first meeting Tuesday afternoon within 180 days and will submit to President Biden blueprint that outlines a whole of a government approach of preventing and addressing technology, facilitating gender-based violence, including concrete actions that executive departments, agencies, and office must commit to take to implement the task force recommendations. I'll be interested to hear what some of those responses are going to be. Within a year, the board will issue a report with additional recommendations and actions, advise broader steps that can be taken by internet platforms, state and local governments, and schools. The document says in April, Biden came under fire for the creation of critics called the dystopian disinformation bureau of under the DHS, which is the Ministry of Truth from 1984. There's definitely concerns about that, which many of you by government's police of free speech online, and those concerns still hold together. Doesn't matter if it's Vice President Harris, Vice President Santos, or President Trump. Those concerns are still warranted. Conservatives slammed the Disinformation Governance Board, DGB, also knowing its timing coming after the Elon Musk vowed to make Twitter a free speech haven through his $44 billion takeover on the social media platform, notorious the selectively censoring right-leaning points of view. There are some valid points on that. When we say learn the code, we got censored because a bunch of people were getting fired from news organizations because they use that for the coal mining people. Also drawing fire was the choice of Nina Jagalakis as a disinformation expert who has in the past repeatedly tried to spread doubt about the Post's own reporting about Hunter Biden's notorious laptop, telling the Associated Press in October 2020 that it should be viewed as a Trump campaign product, but yet we now know that it is real. And we probably know that Ashley's diary is also real. I've heard that there's some spicy content in that diary. I have not read it. In addition to Jack Walkovich has published a since debunked claim that the 2016 and then presidential candidate Donald Trump has tied to the Kremlin linked Alpha Bank, an allegation at the center of a trial of a Clinton campaign lawyer accused of a special counsel, John Durham, of lying to the FBI, which was Sussman. And unfortunately, Sussman got off. The misinformation Kazar was also ripped in a bizarre TikTok performance on February 2021, in which she altered the lyrics to Mary Poppins, following supercalifragilistic blah blah about fake news. Yeah, I'm not going to say that really long word. On Wednesday evening press call, Biden administration called, not called, but Biden administration officials said that the new task force contrasts with the Disinformation Governance Board, and we particularly focus on online activities that are illegal, context such as cyber stalking or non consensual distribution of intimate images or targeted harassment. I mean, I understand the implications of this, or not implications, the lining of that through, let's say, revenge porn. I do understand that concept, and then also maybe blackmailing, saying, I don't know where I was going with that, but there's some legitimate reasons for this, and I understand that. I just think it's going to be abused by politicians that don't want certain information to be released, so they're going to say it was non-consensual distribution of intimate images or documents showing that they partaked in certain activities. They're not necessarily on the uppity up. So that's my concern about that. However, in a memo established, how long? Okay, we're almost done with this article. However, in a memo established in the panel describes our broader mission, specifically invoke criticisms of public figures who, in the legal system, have more difficult time suing for defamation, allowing room for political speech, but also because they sought out the spotlight. The memo says the task force shall work across the executive departments, agencies, and office to assess and address online harassment and abuse that constitute technology facilitated gender based violence, included by developing programs, policies to address online harassment, abuse, disinformation campaigns targeting women and LGBTQI individuals who are public and political figures in the government, and civic leaders, activists, and journalists in the United States and globally. I have an issue with that because you're pandering. It sounds more like pandering to me. In April, Taylor Lorenzi, a reporter who specialized in covering internet cultures in the Washington Post, gained significant attention by alleging online harassments, drawing sympathies from some and criticisms from others, noted that digital trolls come with the territory and working with major news outlets. Lorenz, a former New York Times journalist who broke down in tears on MSNBC while recounting harassment she has experienced online, then went on to publish articles revealing the identities of the social media user, drawing accusation that she was doxing. The anonymous woman who operates the Twitter account lives up TikTok. Doxing is a term to describe the act of posting personal information of those who wish to remain anonymous. Critics accuse Lorenz of hypocrisy. After it was claimed that she showed up at the home of the woman's relative to ask question. It kind of goes on. Lorenz defended her decision revealing the woman's identity, tweeting, reporters make phone calls, send messages, show up in places, knock on doors when reporting out a story. I reported this story out extensively using every tool I had to ensure I had the correct woman. So that kind of begs the question if You are seeking the identity of a certain person that wants to remain anonymous, and you find out that person's information, and they ask you to not release their information, and you release that certain information, can you still be held liable? That is a question I have. I don't know the answer for, but I do think that there is some ethic violation what this reporter did in this regards, and it's not just this in this regards. It seems like the freedom of the press seems to be abused, and as long as it there seems to be certain protections that the press I don't think are justified of having, as in lying like in the Nick Salmon case and the Kyle Rittenhouse case, where it was clearly slanted news towards against them. But since they have now become public figures through their own reporting, you can't sue them because they're a public figure, and public figures don't have the same protection as a private person does. And I just don't agree with that. I think if you're slandering someone, you're slandering someone. It doesn't matter if the person is famous or the person has no following whatsoever. With that being said, we knew that this was going to happen. We knew that the Ministry of Truth was still going to be continuing. They were just going to dress it up a little bit differently. I guess putting the vice president in charge kind of gives it a little bit more authoritarian, not authoritarian, but a little bit more merit on authoritarian or authoritative merit. I guess the words I'm using for. But we knew that they were going to come back, and we had to be vigilant. We must call out Vice President Harris once she comes up with her recommendations to make sure that they don't go too far. I am willing to wait until said recommendations are in place before mocking and ridiculing her based on the ideas that she placed forward. Anyways, leave a comment down below on what your thoughts are. Smash the like and subscribe button in any all platforms or just the platform that you're currently watching. But most importantly, have yourself a wonderful day, morning, or evening.